So hello, everyone. We're back for I think this is part 7, I believe, of Posture for Purpose, Position for Promise. I am Zakiya Monique. This is Sunday School Remix. I love Sunday School Remix because it's just a different twist, right? It's a different twist on things. Um, if you are just catching this episode, you may want to go back and watch the other ones, but just as a really quick recap, um, let's talk about where we have gone. Today we're going to be, our scriptures are going to be Genesis, the 43rd chapter through the 45th chapter. Okay, so we're going to be predominantly in at the end of 43, like kind of middle to the end of 43, and then the entire 44, which will be the the main part, and then a piece of 45. Okay, so that's kind of where we are. But I want to kind of catch you up. So we started off with Joseph's place of preparation. Okay, and we went back, I believe, to Genesis 39 to kind of know why things were the way that they were, right? And so to kind of catch you up, we understood that there was a problem because Jacob never wanted Leah. He wanted Rachel, right? It was similar to the color purple. Rachel was the younger pretty sister. Leah was the older ugly sister. Okay, I ain't call her ugly, the Bible did. The Bible says she was tender-eyed. That means when you looked at her, your eyes was tender. Okay. Okay. So they, he never wanted her. He was tricked into taking Leah. And let me tell you something, when a person has to settle for you, you're going to always feel it. You're going to always see it. It's going to be always, it's always, resentment is always manifested. It is always, you can always see it. When a man settles for a woman, you can always see it. I don't care if they smile for the cameras. I don't care if they stunt for Facebook. I don't care what they do. You will always be able to tell when a man or a woman settled for their mate, or when somebody settled for you. And that's why I tell you, one of the biggest insults in intimacy in relationships is to have somebody settle to be your man, settle to be your woman, settle to be your friend, settle to be anything to you. Because what a settlement means is, I couldn't get what I want, so I'll go and take you. And so in this case, it was even worse because Joseph was able to, Jacob was able to get what he wanted. He just had to take Leah first. So what happened was, Laban, their father, had him to work. And he was thinking all this time he was working 7 years for Rachel, but their custom in the country was that you had to take the oldest daughter first. And he didn't know this. And so on the day when he was, rubbing them hands together, ready to get Rachel, the father come bringing Leah after they done had a big old, party and everything, because he's finally finna get married. And he looking like, wait a minute, we must have a misunderstanding, because that is not who I asked for. And the father was like, oh, yeah, I forgot to tell you. I forgot to tell you that in our custom, you got to take the oldest daughter first. So if you want Rachel, you got to work another 7 years. And let me tell you something. The problem with this goes even deeper, because Jacob was the same one who worked with his mother, okay, Rebecca, to deceive Esau out of the birthright. And when you do things like that, and you do not repent, and when you do stuff like this, and you think you got away with something. So he thought, I got the birthright, I got away with something. But guess what kept following him and kept following him? Deceit. Deceit kept following him. Why? Because that's what he sowed. And even though he got that birthright, he absolutely did. It came with a price, because he got it under his own energy. See, what you get under your own energy, you have to keep under your own energy. And so deceit kept following Jacob. It kept following him. It kept following him. And so guess where it followed him to? Right to Laban's house. He had to work 14 years to get Rachel, but he still had to take Leah. He didn't want her, and it showed. It showed. And so when God saw that he hated Leah, you know what he did? He said, I'm going to shut up Rachel's womb. Since you hate Leah so much, I'm going to make it where Rachel is Leah's the only one that can have kids. And Leah pushed them out, baby. When I say she pushed out 10 boys, and I believe they had a daughter too, pushed out them 10 boys. You hear me? Pushed out them 10 boys before Rachel could have one. Can you imagine the disdain? The disdain. Now, it ain't stop her from smashing. That was the crazy part. Like, you hated her, but you ain't hated her that much. You still was smashing. But do you understand? Do you understand the disdain that had to come, that he had to deal? Like, are you serious right now? Why can't I have a baby with the one that I love? And finally, God gave him a child, and oh, the child was named Joseph. And oh, he loved Joseph to the point where he gave Joseph a coat of many colors, to the point where he loved Joseph, to the point where Joseph didn't have to go out to the fields to work. He had to go out there and tell them if they were working. Joseph was the favorite. And then here comes Benjamin. Oh, I get another one. So he kept them close. But the other 10, y'all go ahead. Imagine being one of the 10. So the 10 did just what some of us do. They took it out on the favorites, with no knowledge that the favorites even knew what was going on. You know, they were significantly, you know, they were older than Joseph. So how do you know Joseph even knew what was going on? All he knew was what my father told me to do. So this all happened in the place of preparation. Okay, the stage was already set. Okay, it was already set. And so we went from the place of preparation to the pit. They got tired. They got tired of Joseph being the favorite. They got tired of Joseph reporting on them to the father. They got tired of Joseph, period. So they was like, we just gonna kill him, because Joseph had the unmitigated gall in all of his naiveness. He had the unmitigated gall to tell his brothers about the 2 dreams that he had. One of the dreams was 10 was going to bow to him. Then he had a dream where 12 was going to bow to him. And then he even told his daddy the dream, and his daddy even rebuked him, like, who you think you are? Wait a minute. You saying I'm going to bow to you? Me and your mother? Wait a minute. And so his daddy told him, go out there and find your brothers and make sure they're doing things right. See, Joseph was always in a position of being in charge. It didn't matter where he was, because his gift, his purpose was always ever before him. His gift was always with him. Your gift is always the thing that lends to your purpose. So his gift was always with him. He had a gift of administration. He had a gift of leadership. He was just always a leader everywhere. Even in his father's house, he was a leader. And so his daddy told him, go out there and make sure they're doing it right. Which means he had to know what they were supposed to do. He just didn't have to go do it. He just had to go report. So his daddy told him, go out there. He went out there. He went to the first place. They weren't there. He went to the second place. And they had already decided, when he come here, we going to get him. And the first thing they grabbed was that coat. And we talked about why. So go back and watch that. But we talked about why. They grabbed that coat and they threw him in that pit. And Reuben said, hey, don't kill him. Don't kill him. Because Reuben had a plan to go back and get him. And then Judah spoke up and said, hey, we should sell him. Because they still was going to let Joseph die in the wilderness. He said, let's sell him. Judah spoke up and said, let's sell him. And you're going to find that Judah is always the one to speak up. But Judah said, let's sell him. Sure, we can get some money. And so they sold him to his cousins, the Ishmaelites. Because remember Ishmael? You know, that other child of Abraham. And so they sold him to the Ishmaelites. Okay? And the Ishmaelites took him and they looked at him and they said, hey, we can get some money for him too. Let's sell him too. And they sold him to Potiphar. And so then we talked about the passage. What happened in the midst of the pit? On the way to the next part, something happened in the middle. Judah ran off, got married, and had a whole bunch of catastrophe that happened. We talked about that. But then in Potiphar's house, Potiphar's wife liked him. And he was like, no. He was in charge in Potiphar's house. And he was like, I can't do this to God. He didn't say to Potiphar, he said, I can't do this to God because God put me in charge here. See, Joseph recognized everywhere he went that he was in charge, but he also recognized who put him in charge. See, some of us get a little power and lose our whole mind due to the pain that's in us, right? And we're going to talk about that a little later today. But she lied and said that he took advantage of her, that he tried to rape her. And without even thinking about this for a minute, because let me tell you something, you know who you married to. You know, let's be clear. You know who you married to. But Potiphar didn't, you know, without even weighing the fact that Joseph had been immaculate, like his reputation was immaculate everywhere. You know, Joseph had never missed a beat. Everything that Potiphar owned and had was in Joseph's care except what he was going to eat and his wife. And nothing had been dropped, missing, or broken, damaged, nothing. But yet, what happened? He put him straight in jail. Sent them straight to prison. Didn't even consider none of that. Didn't consider that maybe your wife lying. Didn't consider nothing. He sent them straight to prison. But guess what? Even in prison, Joseph was still in charge. He was still in charge. The one who was over the prison guard was over. He said, "Oh, I recognize the Lord is with you." Everywhere Joseph went, they recognized the Lord was with him. They recognized the Lord is with him. And can I tell you a secret today? Sometimes people don't like you because they recognize the Lord is with you. They recognize the Lord in you. And so oftentimes that causes one or two things. Either people want to draw close to you because they want to draw off of you. They want to draw close to draw out. Or they don't like you. Oftentimes people want to come and draw that. They want that anointing off of you, or they don't like you because of that anointing, because your anointing offends their demon. Your anointing defends, it offends what they know they're supposed to be doing. Have you ever, one day I was at a party, y'all. One day I was at a party. Okay, and this wasn't no wild party. This was a friend of mine. He had just had like a New Year party or whatever. And so I went to the party this particular day. And I don't drink. I didn't drink, you know, I didn't drink. That was my thing. I have a natural high. I just do. Because my cousin the other day said, "Well, cuz you don't drink, you don't smoke, you don't smoke weed. What you do for fun?" I said, "Baby, I am fun." Okay. I laugh all the time. I said, and let me be clear. The people who get drunk are entertainment. Okay? Because you remember everything they did. They don't. It is entertainment. I mean, I don't be wanting to see people get drunk, but I'm just saying when they get drunk, it'd be sheer entertainment. Okay. And so who is this? So anyway, what ends up happening is so I was like, well, okay, you know, I was like, okay. So the next thing I know, I'm like, I'm sitting there, I'm enjoying myself, I'm having a good time, and people keep, you know, asking me, do I want to drink? You want something to drink? You want to drink? You want to drink? I'm like, I don't drink. And one guy even said, "You churchy? You are you churchy? Are you churchy?" I said, "What you mean by am I churchy? What does that mean?" And he said, "Are you churchy?" And I said, "I go to church, yes, but I'm not churchy. I don't know what that means, you know?" And so anyway, it bothered them that I was not drinking because everybody else was drinking. You see what I'm saying? It bothers people when you are comfortable where you are and they feel like maybe I shouldn't be doing what I'm doing. But I didn't say nothing to them about what they were doing. That's your business. I'm just doing what I'm doing. But sometimes people see in you. They see it. It's like sitting with the Lord. They feel like, I don't want to sit with the Lord. That's why I stopped getting offended. I stopped getting offended when people didn't invite me places, because I understood I started to understand the Lord in me and the Lord that I carry. Not that I'm so great, because you can do the same thing. But when I started realizing the Lord that I carry, I started understanding that some people don't want to sit with the Lord. Not while they're doing what they're doing. They just don't. And so you may think it's strange, you know, or you may have thought it's strange, but don't take it personal, because sometimes it's what's in you that they don't want to sit with. They just don't want to sit with what's in you. They just can't. They can't. And so that's why they don't invite you, not because they don't like you, but because they like, I can't sit with what's in her while I'm doing what I'm doing, because it convicts me, because I know that I'm supposed to be doing better. Okay. So Joseph ended up in the prison. And while he was in prison, you know, he's roaming around in the bottom, whatever. And while he's in prison, he comes upon the cupbearer and the baker, butler, whatever. You know, he comes upon these two, and they're sad because they've had these dreams, but they can't interpret the dreams. And so he interprets their dreams for them. One of them, he tells them, "Well, yeah, you about to get killed. Okay, so sorry." And then the other one, he tells him, "You're going to get restored." Right. And he said, "But when you get restored, don't forget about me. Don't forget, you know, when you go be restored, don't forget about me." And he said, I won't, I got you. He told the butler, I won't forget. Butler said, "I won't forget you. I won't forget about you. I won't forget about you. I got you. I got you." And he went right on up in there and forgot, right on up in that palace and forgot for 2 years. So Joseph was sitting there for 2 years waiting on somebody to remember him, waiting on somebody to remember him that he had served. How many of us does that hit? You know, waiting on somebody to remember you that you have been good to when you didn't have to be good to them. Waiting on somebody to recognize the good in you. Waiting on somebody to recognize that you're amazing. Waiting on somebody to recognize that when you have been good to them, right? And so the next thing I know, Pharaoh has some dreams, and now he's troubled. He's having these dreams about these fat and skinny cows, right? So he like, I don't know what's going on. What is talking? So so Pharaoh does what kings do that are not attached to the Lord. He go and try to manufacture him somebody to interpret those dreams. So he went and got the magicians, and he was asking everybody. Could nobody, not the magicians, nobody could interpret this dream, because your gift will make room for you in rooms that you ain't never been in. Can I say that one more time? Your gift will make room for you in rooms that you ain't never been in. Joseph had never been up in that palace, but guess what? His gift was making room for him. And that butler, I think it was the butler, y'all, but he said, "Oh Lord, I repent. I was supposed to remember Joseph." Pharaoh like, who? Joseph. He interpret dreams, and I have forgot. And guess what? Pharaoh ain't heard nothing else that that the butler said. And don't remember nothing else he said, because he was like, hey, yeah, potato, go get him. He like, I don't want to hear all your yeah. Go get him. Can you tell me what these fat and skinny cows mean? Because I don't care about all that you finna tell me. Go get him. And so when he went and got him, what happened? Joseph was looking like a prisoner. And Joseph said, not me. I'm not going before the king looking like a prisoner. So he got himself together, so that when he went before the king, he looked appropriately. He looked appropriate. And so when he went before the king, he told the king, he said, look here, this is what your dreams mean. Them fat cows, I mean, you're going to have 7 years of lean, 7 great years. Not lean, 7 great years. But after that skinny cow, look here, it's going to be a terrible famine. You can go back and look at all the details of everything in the previous videos. He said, but it's going to be a terrible famine. And guess what? Joseph was once again in charge, because Pharaoh said, well, who else going to be able to handle everything but the one? You obviously know God. Okay, well, we're going to he was second in command to Pharaoh. See, all the time God had been training him in the house. He was working for his father, but he had a little charge over his brothers. And then when he got to the pit, and then he moved to the the passage, and he was over Potiphar's house, he had a little more in charge. He was a little more leadership. And then when he went to prison, he had a little more leadership over the prisoners and all of them. And then when he got to Pharaoh, he was ready to be second in command over Egypt. God is making us ready. He's making us ready with every situation. He's making us ready. And now we've come to the point of the palace. See, people tell you about the pit to the palace, the pit to prison to the palace, but they don't talk about the passage. They don't talk about the place of preparation. They don't talk about the meat of these things. They don't talk about the root. And oftentimes we miss the jewels in the root. We miss the jewels in the passage. We miss the jewels in understanding the difference between purpose and promise. And that's where we are today. So I first want to start with talking about purpose. Purpose. Because what I think we misunderstand is, because we face so many disappointments in life, or because we've compared ourselves to other people, we've looked at somebody else and said, well, they're amazing. I'm not. They're awesome. I'm not. And so what we'll do is we'll discount what's in us, because it's been with us for so long that we stop finding it as amazing. Right? We stop finding it as amazing. We stop finding it as something that could be the thing, right? The thing, because we're looking at Oprah, and we're looking at Tyler Perry, and we're looking at them, and we're saying, we see their gifts, we see their purpose, but where's mine? Mine just seems, it don't seem like I have anything. But that's because you're comparing it to somebody who once was in your shoes and didn't know theirs either. And just because theirs is on television, or theirs is wide stream media or whatever, does not mean that theirs is any more effective or necessary than yours. It's just broadcast. So I want to help you understand purpose today, if you will allow me the space to just help you understand purpose. Okay? Now, I'm a teacher by trade. I'm a teacher. That's one of my gifts. So I have to tell you the actual definition, because I looked it up. As a noun, because purpose is both a noun and a verb. Okay? And so as a noun, purpose means the reason for which something is done or created, or for which something exists. It is a sense of resolve or determination. Isn't it amazing how at the same time it's a resolve and a determination, but it's also the end of the thing. So in addition to it being the determination that you need to finish it, it's also the finishing of the thing. It's also the whole thing that you're going to finish. And then the verb is to have as one's intention or objective, like purposing in your heart. When you purpose in your heart, that's a verb. This word all in of itself is just prophetic. Just purpose. The word purpose and the definition is just prophetic to me. Because not only is it the thing you're doing, it's also the reason why you're doing the thing that you're doing. Like, it is amazing. Okay. Now I want to share with you the characteristics of purpose. Number one, purpose was established by God before the foundation of the earth. So the gifts that's going to help you with your purpose, that's going to help you establish it, they've always been with you. So number one, your gifts have always been with you that are going to lead you to complete your purpose. And yes, I'm talking to you. If you got a heartbeat, you got a purpose. Now, whether or not you're going to complete that purpose, it's up to you. Some of us, self-esteem and self-worth is stopping us from completing the thing that God has desired, or even seeking the thing that God has desired for us to do. Because we don't feel like we're big like Oprah. We don't feel like we're enough like this person or that person. But comparison is the thief of all of joy. Stop comparing yourself to them and find out what it is that you're supposed to do. So purpose has always been in you and with you, and your gifts are what attribute you to your purpose. Psalm 37:4 says, delight yourself in the Lord and he will give you the desires of your hearts. Now, we read this sometimes from a selfish perspective. Okay. Now, we automatically assume that this means that he will give us what we want. And it does in a sense, but it's twofold. Because when it says he will give us the desires of our hearts, he's the one who puts the desire in our hearts in the first place. That's one aspect of him giving us the desires of our hearts, is because he's the one who put it in us. I'll use myself as an example. Relationships, I can't turn it off. Wherever I am, I watch the relationships. I watch it in body language. I watch it in people walking. I don't care if last week we went to Indiana and we were at an outlet mall and I was outside and I was watching people. I was watching who held whose hands and I was watching body language. I can't turn it off. I just can't. But I can also see, because of the gift that God gave me that accompanies my purpose, I can also see the different relationships. I can see prophetically, I can see it. I can see when somebody has a disdain for somebody, but they're settling for them, or I can see it. I can't turn it off. But on the flip side, it bothers me when I see a child mistreated, or different children pitted against each other by a parent, because that's all a part of relationships too. So those things bother me. So understand that in the 37 Psalms, when it says fret not yourself because of evildoers, it's not just talking about the people who have offended you. It's talking about the people who offend your purpose, who offend the thing that you are created to come into the world and change. The thing that bothers you, when they say the thing that bothers you the most, that irritates your soul, is the thing that you oftentimes were sent to impact or to change. It bothers me to see people in relationships settling for people. It bothers me to see mothers and daughters against each other. It bothers me to see sons and fathers against each other. Why? Because I was sent into the earth. I was sent. I was created. I was developed. I was groomed to help impact and influence and change that. So he has to tell me often, don't fret about it. Because it bothers me. Not just in my life personally, but in the lives of others too. So understand that when it says God will give us the desires of our hearts, understand that he first placed it there. That's the first way he gives us the desires of our hearts, is because he gave it to us. He put it in our hearts for us to even desire it. He made me that way. He made me hate injustices when it comes to relationships, especially. He made me that way. Okay? And so he gives us the desires of our hearts and then gives us the desires of our hearts. That's how God is amazing. That's how amazing he is. He first puts it in your heart, then he helps you achieve it. So when you read the 37 Psalms, look at it from different perspectives, not just the perspective of I want what I want, but the perspective of what about your purpose? Okay, so understand, number one, the characteristics of purpose. Number one, your purpose has always been with you, and that's why your gifts are going to serve to help you get lined up with that purpose. Okay, that's the point number one. Point number two, purpose is always bigger than us and will require more than us. And this is also why many of us struggle with purpose, because we got that S on our chest, especially African-American women. We're groomed to do everything ourselves. And so we think, oh, I got to do it myself. And recently I've been doing, shout out to my 28-day resetters, if they're on here or if they're watching this. I recently have been doing a 28-day reset challenge. And let me tell y'all something. I was trying to do it all myself. Every prayer, everything myself. And God said, why? Why are you trying to do everything yourself? It's bigger than you. It's bigger than you. See, when something is sent by God for us to do, it's going to be bigger than us. First of all, we can't do it without him. Let's be clear. Okay? When we look at Joseph throughout his journey, he didn't never mention his father or brothers or anybody he had encountered. Everywhere he went, he mentioned God because he understood that that was who he was living through, moving through, and having his being through. He recognized the fact that God was with him everywhere that he went. So everywhere that he went, when the opportunity came for him to do something to the left or to the right, you know what he said? Because I can't do God like that. He understood who was developing him. He just didn't understand why at one point, but he understood who was developing him. He understood what was going on. He understood who he had to stay connected to. John 15:5 says, I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, understand? If you remain in me and I in you, did you see that? Some people tell me, if you remain in me. No, that ain't the end of it. He said, if you remain in me and I in you, then you will bear much fruit, because apart from me, you can do nothing. So first and foremost, we got to have God. I don't care if it's raising children. I don't care, because that's part of your purpose too. Who you birth into this earth is just as important as what you birth in this earth. Okay? And so therefore, hey, at the end of the day, we got to understand that, hold on. You can't do it apart from the one who gave you the gift, the one who gave you the purpose. How is it that we get the purpose? How we get it? And then we say, okay, thanks, bye. How? That's the thing that has caused me the most hesitation in all that God has called me to do, because I've watched so many people on these big platforms leave God. And as a result, their platforms crumble. And I'm like, God, I don't want that. I need you every day, every hour. I can't do none of this without you. This is you doing it through me. This is not me doing it for me or through me. I am not amazing without him. I'm only amazing in him. I'm only amazing with him. I'm only amazing because of him. But I am not. Zakiya will fail you every day. Understand? Zakiya will fail you without God, and without God's touch, and without God's hand, and without God's direction, and without God's nature. Zakiya will fail you, but not when I'm in him. And it's in him that I live, move, and have my being, but I have to stay there. That's why he said, if I'm in you and you in me. Okay? So we cannot get the gift and then leave the gift giver, because it is he who shows us how to unwrap the gift, how to develop the gift, how to care for the gift, when to share the gift, and who to share it with. Because everything ain't for everybody. That's why we out here arguing with folks. What you arguing for? Baby, if it ain't for you, go ahead on. When a person tell me they want to leave a membership or something of mine, I tell them, give me a second. I'll disconnect you. I love you. Why? Because if I'm not for you, I want you to get to who is for you. I want you to get the help that you want. I don't take it as rejection. You ain't rejecting me. You can't reject me because I wasn't giving you me. See, that's a different perspective. If I wasn't giving you me, then you can't reject me. I was giving you the Lord. If you reject him, then you reject him. But just because you leave my membership don't mean you're rejecting me or the Lord. It just means that maybe I ain't for you, or it ain't for you. And that's okay. Okay? So that was the first part. The second part is of purpose always being bigger than us and require more than us, is purpose always serves and blesses others. And that's how we know it's from God. When what we're doing blesses and serves others. Did you hear me say serve? Because for some reason we think that purpose is going to bring us into a place where people going to just, fall all out over us and get us water and get us things and be our little flunkies. Because that's what we've seen in the church. That's what we've seen, leadership. They didn't come to serve, they came to be served. And I'm not saying this is all leaders, but it's a lot of them. But that's not it. That's not what God called us for. Purpose always serves and blesses others. And that's how we know it's God, because God gets the glory from that. God gets the glory when we serve, when we're humble. And when it comes to purpose, God gets the glory, we get the benefit. Another part is purpose does not feel like work. So that's number 3. So number 2 was purpose is always bigger than us and will always require more than us. Number 3 is purpose does not feel like work. It does not feel like work. Hear me clearly, y'all. I could talk about relationships all day long. When I first started out, I was talking about relationships 30 days straight. I never asked nobody to work with me. Nothing. I ain't never given no call to action, nothing. People start asking me, how can I work with you after 8:30 in the morning? How can I work with you outside of this Periscope? Because that's how long ago it was. And so how can I work with you? I said, oh, well, what you want me to do? I ain't even care about the money. I ain't care about making money. Not at all. I made $2,500 out of a class on accident. I didn't care about that. I just enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I loved it. It didn't feel like work, and it still don't. It comes with ease because it's what you were created to do. God has been preparing you for this your whole life. And this is the danger. That's how we miss it. I asked God, when my father got sick, I asked God, what is my purpose? Because I want to know that, I knew what my daddy's purpose was. My daddy could sing a microphone till it went dead. Okay. My daddy could sing. That was his thing. That was undoubtedly. My daddy sang for 50 of his 59 years. Undoubtedly, that was his thing. And I started to wonder, well, what am I created for, God? I got all these talents. I got stuff that I know how to do, but they still didn't, it just wasn't it. And one day God said, it's under your nose. And I said, what? He said, it's under your nose. I said, my mouth? He said, yeah, speaking. You're going to speak through books. You're going to speak over people. You're going to speak through coaching. But speaking is your purpose. And I thought, I always do that, though. See, I missed it. I thought it was going to be a brand new thing. No, it had been with me my whole life. And because I've been doing it since 3, nobody ever showed me how to hold a microphone. Nobody ever showed me where, or taught me about standing center stage. I love center stage. When we were at church one time, we were having a Tom Thumb wedding, and they picked me to be the bride. All the little girls wanted to be the bride because they wanted to marry Terrence Courts. I didn't want to marry Terrence Courts. Okay. For a couple reasons, but I'm going to only talk about the one. I did not want to marry Terrence Courts. I did not. So when they played that music and we walked down that aisle, I was a literal child. I cried. And they had to tell me I wasn't really marrying him because I was crying hard. Okay. I was crying so hard. And then after they told me, they said, well, you're not marrying him for real. I said, but I still don't want to be the bride. They said, well, what do you want to do? I pointed at the stage. I wanted to be the wedding singer. I stood right in the middle of that pulpit and sang, I love you truly, truly dear. Honey, I sang that song. I wasn't scared. All the other kids would be scared for Easter speeches. I was never scared, never afraid. Because it was I was created for it. I was created for it. Okay. And so the thing that you're created for, sometimes you'll miss it because you've been doing it your whole life. Sometimes you'll miss it because it's that thing that comes second nature to you. Sometimes you'll miss it because it's not a brand new thing. But understand me that once you develop that thing, it'll become an amazing thing. When you let God take you through the process, I'm telling you what I know. I went through a process from 2012 to 2016. Before I touched that button, God said, I can't let you talk over my people before I cleanse you, before I prune you. It was 4 very difficult years, but trust me, those 4 years with God are the reason why I will be and am successful as I am today. And success is not equated by money. It's not money per se. That's not it. That's not what I say successful is. To me, it's the lives that I impact through him. Okay? So you'll miss it. You'll overlook it comparing it to somebody else's. You'll overlook it because you're thinking, I've always done that. It's not a brand new thing. It's not a brand new thing. I'm telling you now, it's not a brand new thing. It's been with you your whole life. Okay? But God wants to develop it to be a new thing to you. It'll be the way you handle it will be new. The way you administer it will be new. Okay? And so then the last point that I want to make, point number 4, is purpose comes with peace, power, and profits. And God himself gave me that. And pardon me, because I think my smoke detector just started going off. I hate that beeping and I can't stand it. But anyway, peace, power, and profits. Okay. Purpose comes with so much peace, though. that it can be a struggle to do anything else. When I found my purpose, I just want to talk about relationships all day. Going to work was like giving birth. Going to my day job was like giving birth. I was so sad when I had to go to my real job. See, that's why we have to be mindful and let God take us through the process. We have to understand that God has to take us through the process, and we can't manufacture it. We can't. This is why we need God, because if we access the peace, power, and profits before God's process due to manufacturing, we can lose it all. Why? Because we'll quit our job too soon. See, if I had acted in 2016 when I first started going live and was so in love with just talking about relationships, and I still love it the same way, probably more today. But if I had quit my job too soon, then guess what? I wouldn't have gotten that $250,000 of student loans waived. God said, I need that off you because there's some things that I need to do. Right? I would have acted too soon because of I'm in so much peace with doing my purpose. I move too soon. Sometimes if we access the power before going through God's process, we don't know how to handle the power. And when you put power with pain, oh baby, power with pain looks like the tyrant at your job, the one that don't nobody like to work with, the one that don't nobody like. 57% of people leave their bosses at jobs they love. They'll leave the place that they love, the job that they love, because of the boss. 57% of people are. Love the job, can't stand the boss. Why? Because that person accessed power before process. How do you access power before process? People doing favors for you. See, you a favor. You're going to hook my daughter up with a VP position? Oh, okay, she get a VP position, but your daughter 39 and ain't never dealt with her issues. And so she'll not talk to nobody, but she a vice president. Happens all the time. Doing a favor. That's called manufacturing. And understand, the other day, God told me Friday morning, he had me up 2 to 5 in the morning, and he told me manufacturing starts with man. Man. People who are not connected to God have to manufacture their blessings. They have to manufacture their money. They have to manufacture things. And it's so short-lived, because when man puts you up, oh baby, once you get on your knees, you can't get up with man. So that woman who get that vice president position, now she got to do everything that the person who put her there said. Even if that thing is wrong, she can't stand for it. She can't stand. She got to do what they said, because they put her there, they could take her out. But see, when God sends you somewhere, can't nobody take you out. Trust me, my job tried to fire me like 5 times. I'm just saying, because I'm going to stand for what's right. I'm gonna do it the right way now. And sometimes I have to be honest, I hadn't gone through God's process. Okay. I've been in my job 18 years. And so before I went through that pruning process from 2012 to 2016, I was a little raw. Okay. All right. I believe that where you showed out is where I'm going to act up. Okay. So when you cut up on me, I cut up right here. And I used to tell folks off and all that type of stuff. And I wasn't necessarily doing doing it the way God wanted me to do it. And so they would try to fire me, but because they didn't put me there, they couldn't. And then God dealt with me though, so don't ever think that you could just be cutting up and he ain't finna do nothing to you. He was like, okay, listen here, you ain't finna keep cutting up now. I ain't gonna let them fire, but you ain't gonna keep cutting up. Okay. So purpose comes with peace, power, and profits. If you access the peace first and get so involved in that peace, you ain't gonna want to go to work, and you may quit that job prematurely. And it may not be, because God may be using your job to provide seed for your purpose. Okay. If you access that purpose of that power to before process, then you stand up, you can mix that power with pain, and you'll be in trouble. Okay. Because now you'll not talk to folks. And last but not least, if you access profits before God's process, you will get caught up. How? Because no money will be enough. So I know people, you making $250,000, $500,000, and still trying to scratch and get more money. How much is enough? Number one, the Bible says you can't serve God and mammon, and for some reason people think that mammon is the devil. But mammon is money. And let me tell you something. If you have not yet, I can guarantee you that at some point in your journey with God, you're going to have to make a decision whether you're going to serve God or money. because there's going to be a chance that's going to come before you, and it is going to be some money, and more than likely it's probably more money than you ever made in your life, and it's going to be doing something that God does not honor, and you're going to have to make a decision. Okay, for me, that time came when I had lost my job in 2004. I had lost my job in 2004, just before I started working where I work now. I've been working at this job for 18, almost 19 years, but before I started here, I worked at a law firm, and I lost my job at the law firm. I got laid off, and a friend of mine called me and said, hey, Z, I got this opportunity for you. I said, what is it? She said, listen, you can make $5,000 a month. Nah, I wasn't working at the time, so 5 G's a month was all right with me. So I said, okay, doing what? She said, you get your money off top. Now, let me tell you all something. When a person know it's wrong, or when they know it could be, wrong in your sight, they keep telling you the benefits first. All right. So she said, you get your money off top, and then you just send your money in. She still ain't told me what it is. And so I said, well, okay, well, doing what? I kept saying, doing what? She said, girl, I know you can do this thing, because you can do this with your eyes closed, and you could probably make the 5,000 is the least amount that you're going to make. I said, okay, but doing what? She said, selling adult toys. I said, no, I ain't gonna be able to do that. Now, understand, my unemployment was probably $700 every 2 weeks. So I was making way more, more than that at my job. I'd have been reduced to $700 I think it was like $763 or $793 every 2 weeks. So here I am making a smooth $1,600 a month. Okay. And all my bills is eating that up, but nothing got cut off. Nothing was behind, nothing like that. But I'm turning down at least $5,000 a month. Why? Because I love God. And I knew, I knew that's not what he had for me to do. If he told you to do it, that's okay. But if your conviction ain't told you no, then that's okay. But for me, I knew it was a test. I knew I couldn't do that. I told her, I said, thank you for thinking of me, but no, I can't do it. She said, you sure? I know you'll be good at it. I knew I'd be good at it too. I'd have been amazing at it. I know I would have. But I didn't want to use my influence that way. I didn't want to grieve God's heart that way. I just couldn't. I could not do it. I could not do it. And so I didn't. I turned it down. $5,000 a month. I turned it down when I was only getting $1,600. I had no job. Okay. And so there will come a time. There will come a time, if you haven't already, where God will see. Are you going to serve God, or are you going to serve mammon? Because I can't trust you if you serve mammon. I can't. I can't trust you over my people because you got a price. I can't trust you over my people. I can't trust you to do what's right because somebody offer you a couple of dollars and you'll go from there. I can't trust that. Okay. But when God knows that no matter how much money you offered, you're like, no. He's like, now I can trust you over my people. I can trust you to say what's right, do what's right. Okay. And so, we can't serve money or move for money. We have to choose whether we're going to serve God or mammon. And whatever your choice is no condemnation. But just understand that choices come with consequences. Okay. So I just wanted to talk about purpose in that stead. Okay. Because we're getting ready to go into our lesson really quickly about purpose in the palace. Okay. Purpose in the palace. And so when we go to chapter 43, I'm going, you can read this a little bit later. I'm just going to kind of give you the synopsis of what was going on. The brothers left Simeon in Egypt and were supposed to go and bring Benjamin back. So they were supposed to, he said, I'm going to keep this brother here. I'm going to keep one of y'all brothers here. So he grabbed Simeon and kept him. So he said, I'm going to keep him and y'all go and bring that boy back. Bring Benjamin back. Now, they still didn't know. It amazes me that they still didn't know Joseph, but not really. I mean, I guess, they hadn't seen him in, it's been 20 years. So they hadn't seen him in 20 years, but I guess I would just still know my sister. I guess, you know what I'm saying? I would just still know my sister, but that can also really be a testament to how much they didn't like him. They didn't like him so much. I mean, he left home at 17. So from 17 to 30, how much do you really change? You know what I'm saying? Because when I look at my sister's pictures from 17 to 30, they didn't change so much that I wouldn't recognize them if I saw them again. So that let me know that they really didn't even pay attention to Joseph when he was 17, when he was around them. Because how do you not know your brother? I'm gonna know my brother features or something in him, something in his mannerisms, or something I'm gonna know. You know what I'm saying? And so it just still kind of amazes me a little bit that they just still didn't catch on. They just still didn't know. But he kept Simeon in Egypt, and they were supposed to bring Benjamin back. But when they got back to Canaan, Jacob was like, emphatically no. Simeon can stay right there where he at, because I am not sending, I'm not. He was like, what, we already took one of my sons and he's dead, ripped to shreds. Y'all done lost Simeon, because at this point he counted Simeon as an L, because I'm not sending Benjamin. And so he was like, and now y'all want me to send Benjamin? Absolutely not. Reuben said, listen, I'll give you the lives of my 2 sons in exchange for taking Benjamin back to get Simeon. Now, here's the thing. I want to bring something out to you. The firstborn seemed to be more rational than the father in many cases here. It's crazy that Reuben had to keep saying, Dad, you can take my sons. You can take the lives of my 2 sons. We need to get this done. You know, we need to go get Simeon back. We need to get this done, Dad. You know what I'm saying? But Jacob was so like, no. And this is a great example of parentified children. Oftentimes that firstborn are not far in age from their parents, and in turn they grew up with them, and in some instances they outgrow them. Okay, unfortunately, you know, because pain will stunt your growth. And if you're not willing to grow, and you're not willing to change, and you're not willing to do better and stay with the times and learn, and you know, you get stuck in your ways and decide, I don't want nothing to do with technology and after a while, your children will start to, you know, because see, there's a certain amount of wisdom about life that you should always have. I don't care how much technology or whatever new comes up. There's a certain amount of wisdom in life that you should have to be able to direct your children. That's the way that God created it. However, if you allow pain to stunt your growth, then you, after a while, won't have that wisdom to extend to them, because you stop living at some point. You may be here physically, but at some point, emotionally and mentally, you just stop. It stunted your growth. That pain stunted your growth. And that's how we get parentified children, because they start parenting the children, because the children start parenting the parent. You know, why? Because they now have exceeded you in their level of wisdom and growth, because they were willing to continue. And notice how Jacob said to the brothers, his brother is dead and he's left alone. This is what he said when he was talking about Benjamin. He said, his brother is dead and he is left alone. What? How is he left alone, Jacob? He got 10 brothers. He got 10 other brothers. But he's saying he's left alone. Left alone, that tells you how Jacob was thinking. Resentment runs thick and deep. He was willing to leave Simeon in captivity just to save Benjamin. Why? Because of who Benjamin was born to. Because of how he loved Benjamin's mama and didn't like their mama. Amazing, huh? So then the famine became even more severe in the land, and they ran out of, you know, the food again, the major foods again. And Jacob told them, go back and get some more food. And guess who spoke up? Good old Judah. Because guess what? Judah was with it all. You understand me? Even after all he done been through, Judah was with it all. You hear me? Judah was with it all. Judah was outspoken. But even you'll find it later in this lesson that even his mouth was part of the purpose, part of the plan. But Judah spoke up. He said, look here. Remember, remember, Judah was the same one who said, let's sell them. Okay? But hear me clearly. Judah said, look here. Joseph told us, that man told us that the next time we saw his face, we better have Benjamin. So if you want us to go get some food, we need Benjamin. And why we all got to die? Because you don't want to send him. Like Judah went off. Okay. He got stern. He went on off. He told us, look, we need Benjamin to be with us so we can go get this food, because otherwise everybody gonna die. Benjamin had to get stern with him. Give me the boy. Come on. If not, we ain't going. Okay? And Judah wasn't even the oldest, but Judah said, look here, either give us the boy or we ain't going. Everybody finna starve. And so Jacob resorted to what he always resorted to. I told you, deceit followed him. Manipulation. Why do you treat me so badly? Jacob, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me, Jacob? You said to the 10 sons that you done been treated like trash since they've been here. Why do you treat me so badly? Why did you even tell him that you had another brother? Are you serious right now? Let me tell y'all something. Side note from the story. God didn't create us to be used by nobody but him. I don't care if it's your mama, your daddy, your sister, your brother, your cousin, your ugly uncle. I don't care who it is. Ugly, tangle-eyed Leah. I don't care who it is. God did not create us to be used by nobody but him. So nobody has a right to manipulate us and control us and play us and do things like, no, they don't have a right. Jacob didn't have a right to even say that to them boys. They were men at this point. He didn't even have a right, because listen, if Joseph was over 30, then they were grown. They probably was 50 years old. He have a right to say that to them. After how he treated them and done them, he have a right to say that but he was going to manipulate them because he had been manipulating them. But be mindful of those who seek to manipulate and control you, no matter what their title is. Allowing people to use us only leads to resentment, either an internal resentment and turmoil because we know it's not right. So we know it's not right. So internally, we will start to fight with ourselves, within ourselves, or an external resentment and turmoil where we start to lash out against them. And then we're in trouble with God because we're not supposed to take matters into our own hands. So it's best to stop it immediately. Boundaries are necessary for our safety and security and sanity. Okay. And so, then the brothers reminded Jacob, they said, listen, we told you, we didn't tell him about our brother. He asked us if our father was still living, and then he asked us about our little brother. We ain't gonna tell him nothing. We just went to go buy food like you told us. Because they're getting irritated now. Judah had enough of the manipulation and explanation. So you know what he said? Give us the boy so we can get food and live. I'll personally be responsible. And if I don't bring them back, you can blame me forever. But look, all this talking, we could have been gone and back twice. That's how you know Judah was tired. Judah was tired of it. He was tired of it. You hear me? You know somebody tired of it when they don't say, I'm tired of it. They say, I'm tired of it. Tiedud, tired of it. Give us the boy. We could have been there and back. And so what does Jacob do? He pouts and he sulks. He says, if I am bereaved of my son, then I am bereaved. He was a drama king. If I am bereaved, then I am bereaved. I couldn't even imagine it, y'all. I couldn't even imagine it. Like, you really performing. So the 10 brothers went and took him. And they stood before Joseph with Benjamin. Here, we got him. And so it was 10 because Simeon was still in jail, but they had Benjamin with him, so that made 10. Joseph saw Benjamin and he was ready to celebrate. He told his servants to bring the men into the house, slaughter an animal, and make preparations for dining at noon. And guess what happened? The brothers were afraid because they still didn't know it was Joseph. I'm like, my gosh, like, when y'all gonna pay attention? And maybe they might not have mattered because they know what they did to Joseph. So they might have been even more fearful if they knew it was him. Like, he's setting us up. He's trying to kill us, right? They thought they would be attacked, overpowered, and taken into slavery. But doesn't that sound familiar? They thought they would be attacked, overpowered, and taken into slavery. Ain't that what they did to Joseph, though? Isn't that something? Isn't that somehow what we do to other people will haunt us? And until we repent, until we get that thing right, it will haunt us. The whole time, every time Joseph was good to them, even though they didn't know it was him, they immediately said, this is what we did to Joseph is coming back to get us. That's why we got to repent immediately. When we know we've done something wrong, immediately get that thing right, or it will continue. Like with Jacob, deceit just kept on following him. It will keep following you. And so, this is why we have to follow peace, or do our best to follow peace with all men. The Bible says, follow peace with all men. Without such, we won't see the Lord. I think that's what it says. I'll get the scripture and tell you what it says exactly, because I don't like to misquote. But it said, follow peace with all men. Without such, you shall not see God. I think that's how it says it. But then you got to look over your shoulder in anticipation for what you do, what you did coming back to you. But they were scared, and then they came clean. People get scared and they like, forget it. We just gonna tell them what happened. So they went to the steward, and they came clean about something they ain't even do. They didn't even know it. They didn't even know, like, no, we know y'all ain't do nothing. But they went to the steward and said, listen, we came here before and we bought, food before. And when we got to our resting place for the night, we looked in our bags and it was, our money was back in there. We didn't do it though. You know, we didn't know. We didn't know why, but we brought it back. We brought back double, and we brought gifts and everything too. We didn't know, you know, because they scared because of what they did. It's haunting them. And the steward said, "Oh yeah, we know. We know your money. Your money was not returned by Joseph, though. It was returned by your God, God your father. See, once again, giving who the glory? God the glory. He could have said, oh yeah, Joseph told us to give you your money back. No. He said that steward said, your God, God your father has given the treasures in your sack. So don't worry. And then they brought Simeon out. Can you imagine though what Simeon had to say? What took y'all so long to come back and get me? Dude. And can you imagine the heartbreak and devastation that he experienced when he realized that the only reason why they came back and got him was because of impending death, of starvation, and the famine, and the fact that the father wasn't even going to rescue him because he would rather save Benjamin than rescue him? Can you imagine the devastation? We have to be careful, especially with our children. Because what are you saying to them when you puffing up their brother and downing them? So you ain't like your brother. Your brother do this, your brother do that, your brother do this, your sister do this, your sister do that. You said, but look at you. Sitting over there looking stupid. Sitting over there acting like your daddy. Sitting over there. We got to be careful. Because not only do we pit them against each other, but we pit them against themselves. We pit them against themselves. So then they were taken into the house. They were provided water to wash their feet. They were provided food like dry feed and hay, you know, like hay and stuff for their donkeys to eat. And then they prepared their gifts for Joseph. And when Joseph came, they bowed to him. Oh, they didn't even remember the dream, but they didn't even know it was Joseph at the time. But they didn't remember the dream. They bowed to him, and then they bowed again after he asked about their father. Now, my thing is, this man keep asking about your father. He keep talking about a brother, and y'all still ain't put two and two together. Okay. And when Joseph saw Benjamin, he confirmed that it was him and was so deeply moved that he hurried out and looked for a place to weep. He went into a private room and he wept. He came out and he gained his composure, and he said, let's serve the food. And Joseph ate by himself, and then the brothers ate by themselves, and then the Egyptians ate by themselves because they weren't allowed to eat, with Hebrews. And so the brothers still did not realize that it was Joseph, even though they were seated in order from age, from firstborn to the youngest. Like, who would know this? Who missing from your circle would know this? They were seated by age. Reuben, I think Simeon, Levi, they were in line. 11 brothers in line by age. Who would know this? And Benjamin was given 5 times more. They still wasn't connecting the dots. But I want to talk a little bit about Benjamin being given 5 times more, because the generational curse was continuing. See, all them years, Jacob favored Joseph and then Benjamin because he loved their mother more. It was causing a curse between, it was causing, not necessarily a curse, but it was causing problems within the brothers. And then it caused a curse because it caused sin. Okay. And guess what was happening? A continuation of that, because now Joseph is looking at Benjamin saying, this is my brother. Oh, and y'all too. This is my brother though, but oh, and y'all too. That's why I don't like step kids. I don't like the word step kids. I don't like it. You may not have pushed them out, but when you say you won with your husband, you won with your husband. You won with your wife. So if that ain't your step money, if that ain't your step car, if that ain't your step stuff, then it ain't your step kid. Because we surely want all of the money, all of his time, attention, and love, all of that car ours. Those things are ours. Then guess what? Those children are too. And don't get me wrong, I do understand that sometimes circumstances are a little tough, but you made that vow. Okay. And so it was continuing though. It became a curse. It was continuing because it was going to, it had the power, and this is how curses start. It has the power to continue to roll through generations. And so now here Joseph is doing the same thing that his father did to him, to him and his brothers. Now, maybe he didn't even realize it, because again, sometimes we carry on curses and don't even realize it's a curse. Poverty is one thing, is one part of that. We watch generation after generation get on welfare. And why? We think that's a way of life. We think that's how you do things. You have babies, you get your subsidized house, and you get this, and you get them to pay for this for you, and get them to pay for that for you, not realizing that that's a system of oppression. The people tell you where to go, what to do, how to pee, who can stay at your house, and all that. That's oppression. That's a way of the government can control you even more. But we don't see it as oppression because we like, we get them to pay all our stuff. We beating the system. You ain't beating no system. You never will. You won't beat the system unless you with God. Hear me clearly. Because the system gonna come out on top. Know that. Okay? Because they crooked. Okay, so it was continuing though, because Joseph, favoring Benjamin and gave him 5 times more. But they still ain't caught on. And so after dinner, Joseph told the stewards that, go ahead and fill 8 bags with as much food as they can carry, and put man's silver in the mouth of his sack. So put his silver in the mouth of his sack. He'll give him his money back. Then he told them to put his silver cup. So Joseph told him to put Joseph's silver cup in Benjamin's sack, along with his silver and stuff too, right? And when morning came, the men were on their way, and Joseph told the steward, go after them, and at once, when you catch them, ask them, why have you repaid evil with good? Isn't this the cup my master drinks from and uses for divination? This is wicked. So he set him up, and he was setting it up because he wanted Benjamin to stay with him. He wanted Benjamin to stay with him and be protected, because he realized what had happened to him because of them 10, right? He's like, you can't trust them because they threw me in the pit, okay? And even though I'm okay, I don't want them to do that to Benjamin, because maybe Benjamin might not be okay. Right? So he was trying to keep Benjamin with him. He wanted to keep Benjamin there. And so he put his cup in Benjamin's bag. And so what happened was they came back. They came back. They wasn't that far away. They came back and they threw themselves at his feet and said, hey, we didn't do anything. We sorry. They tried to tell the steward, like, we didn't do anything. We didn't do anything. We didn't take anything. We didn't take anything. And so when they looked in the bag, he said, one of y'all got that cup. And they looked in the bag and it was in Benjamin's bag. And he said, they came back. They said, we didn't do that. We didn't pack this. We didn't take this. We wouldn't have done that. Right. And so they said, we'll be your slaves. We'll be your slaves. We'll be your slaves. And Joseph said, oh no, I wouldn't have that. I just want the one who had my cup to be my slave. Leave him and y'all go back. And Judah said, the devil is a lie. He said, the devil is a lie, because I told my daddy. Okay. Judah spoke up. I told y'all Judah was the one. Judah was with it all. Judah went up to Joseph and said, pardon your servant. Pardon me, Lord. Let me speak to you. Let me holler at you. Okay. He said, let me speak a word to you, my Lord. In the hood, he said, let me holler at you for a minute. He said, now look, don't be angry with me. I know you equal to Pharaoh. I know you the king and all that. Okay. I know you in charge. Got it. But look here. You asked us when we first came here, do you have a father or brother? We told you our father was ill and all this type of stuff. And we told you that we had a brother. And, we told you our father was aged up in years and all that. We told you about our brother that was dead. We told you all this stuff, right? And that that our younger brother was his mother's only son left. We told you this now. And, we told you that his father loves him. You notice what Judah said? His father loves him, because that was evident. Okay. And then you said to us, bring him down so I can see him for myself. And we told you the boy can't leave the father, because, the father is particular about this here brother. He can't leave the father. The father died. Like, he can't take it. He can't take it now. He already then lost the brother. And you told us that unless your younger brother comes, you will not see my face again. And basically, we was going to lose Simeon. And, we went back and we told our father what you said. And our father told us to go back and buy some more food. And we told him that we can only come back if our youngest brother was with us. And, that we can't see your face if our youngest brother was not with us. So we wasn't going to get no food. And our father said to us, my wife bore me 2 sons, one of which went away from me, and he was surely torn to pieces, and I have not seen him since. And if you take this one from me too and harm him too, you will bring my gray hair down to the grave in misery. So understand, Mr. Sir, it's Judah talking again. Understand, Mr. Sir, okay? If the boy is not with us when we go back, okay, my father, whose life is closely bound up with the boy's life, okay, You understand what Judah's saying? Who's closely bound up with the boy's life. When he see that boy ain't there, he gonna die. He gonna die. And we, your servants, because they've already committed themselves to being servants here, we, your servants, will have brought gray hair to our father down to the grave in his sorrow. Now look here, Mr. Sir, your servant, me, I guaranteed the boy's safety to my father. I told my father that I was going to bring this boy back. I said, if I do not bring him back to you, I will bear the blame before you, my father, all my life. Now then, please let your servant remain here as my Lord's slave in place of the boy. So look here, I'll stay here, but you let that boy go. You got to let him go back. He got to go back to my daddy because I told him he was going. I told my daddy that he was coming back. Let him return back with his brothers. Because how can I go back to my father if I don't have that boy? Don't you see the misery that it will bring to my father? Don't you see that? That's what Judah said to Joseph. And at this point, Joseph could no longer control himself before all his attendants, and he cried out, "Have everybody leave my presence. Leave." I'll see how theatrical I was right there. Leave my presence. So there was no one with Joseph when he made himself known to his brothers. And he wept so loudly, he told his brothers, he wept so loudly that the Egyptians heard him, and Pharaoh's household heard about it. Can you imagine how loud that had to be? He cried. He said to his brothers, "I am Joseph. It's me. I am Joseph. Is my father still living?" But his brothers were not able to answer him because they were terrified. Why? Because what they did to him had still followed them, still following him, and they couldn't believe that he was still alive. Some people still can't believe you're still alive after what they did to you. They can't believe that you're successful. They can't believe that you made it. They terrified because they can't believe you made it. Then Joseph said, "Come here, look at me, come close to me." And when they had done so, he said, "I am your brother Joseph, the one you sold into Egypt. And now do not distress. Don't be angry with yourself for selling me here, because it was to save lives that God sent me ahead of you. For 2 years now, there's been a famine in the land. And for the next 5 years, there will be no plowing and reaping. But God sent me ahead of you. God sent me ahead of you to preserve for you a remnant on earth and to save your lives by a great deliverance. He sent me ahead of you to save you. He sent me ahead of you to save you. Release yourself from distress. You ain't do nothing. You thought you was doing something, but God did it. Do you understand what forgiveness does to people? Do you understand how terrified the men had been since they had come to buy that food? Sometimes forgiving a person is not just for you. It releases the pressure off that other person as well. And I'm talking about the people who are really apologetic. Because sometimes they carrying weight and guilt. They carrying it. And it's hurting. It hurt them that it hurt you. I'm not talking about the people who don't care. I'm talking about the people who it hurt them that it hurt you. And when you give them true forgiveness and restoration as God allows, or as God, ordains, because sometimes God will tell you don't restore. But when God allows you to restore them, when you truly do you understand what it brings? They had pressure on them for what they did to Joseph, and the whole time they wasn't doing nothing. God was. Whew. So he told them, "It was not you who sent me here, but it was God. He made me father to Pharaoh." Do you understand? Did you hear that? He made me father to Pharaoh, Lord of his entire household and ruler of all Egypt. Now hurry back to my father and say to him, this is what your son Joseph says. God has made me Lord of Egypt. Come down to me. Don't delay. You shall live in the region of Goshen and be near me. You, your children, and your grandchildren, your flocks and your herds, and all that you have, I will provide for you there, because 5 years of famine are still to come. Otherwise, you and your household and all who belong to you will become destitute. You can see for yourself. And so can my brother Benjamin, that I am who I really am. That is really I who am speaking to you. Tell my father about all the honor accorded me in Egypt, and about everything you have seen, and bring my father down here quickly. Then he threw his arms around his brother Benjamin and wept. You notice he hugged Benjamin first? And Benjamin embraced him weeping. And then he kissed all his brothers and wept over them. Afterwards, his brothers talked with him. When the news reached Pharaoh's palace that Joseph's brothers had come, Pharaoh and all his officials were pleased. Pharaoh said to Joseph, tell your brothers, do this, load your animals, return to Canaan, bring your father and your families back to me. I'll give you the best of the land of Egypt, and you can enjoy the fat of the land. This is in the midst of a famine, y'all. You are also directed to tell them, do this, take some carts from Egypt for your children and your wives, and get your father and come. Never mind about your belongings, because the best of all of Egypt will be yours. Do y'all better understand purpose now? Do you understand how that leadership was with Joseph the whole time? Just like your purpose is with you the whole time? What if it's your job to go before the people to save the people, and you still doubting yourself? What if it's your job to bless somebody? What if it's some people committed to your hands and your trust, but you too scared? Or you comparing yourself to somebody else? Do you want that blood on your hands? Some of us are created to do some amazing things in the earth, but we're too afraid because we hear the echoes of what people said about us. I remember when I was in the 12th grade, I was the host. I told y'all I've always been around a microphone. I was the host of a talent show, and I won because there was a couple of hosts. So I was going against some other hosts, and I won. And people were saying, you're going to be on TV one day. People were saying, you're going to be on TV one day. You're going to be this, you're going to be that. You're an amazing host. It's like you're a natural. They kept saying it, right? And the lady in the office, I never forget, the lady in the office didn't know I was standing. Our office had two offices. So it's like an office in the office. She was inside of the office, within the office, but didn't know I was standing outside of that office. I was getting ready to do the announcements. And she said, she ain't going to do nothing. She ain't going to be nothing. People, and she went on to talk about me. I was a kid, quote unquote. She was an adult. And she went on to talk about me. Okay. I heard what she said. And that could have impacted me. I could have let that stop me, or I could have said, you know what? Just for people like her. Just for people like her. Because I don't care what she said. I know what God said. Now, at the time, I wasn't in the faith that way. I wasn't, but when it come to me doing my purpose, I'm not going to let what she said trump what God said. I'm not going to let what they say trump what God said. Because people will remind you of your past. They remind you of everything that you're not. I'm not going to let them dictate what did God say about you? What did God say? He the one who gave you the purpose. He's the one going to develop it. He's the one who's going to take you through it. They not. They probably not even going to support you. Okay? So we got to be very, very careful of whose voice is echoing in our ears. If you think you're not good enough, good, you're not. You alone are not. But the God in you is everything you need. Me alone, I'm not. But the God in me is everything I need. So understand, it's okay what they said, what he said, what she said. That's okay. What God say? What God say? All right. So we'll be picking up. That was purpose. We'll be picking up and talking about promise, Lord's will next week. I'm going to stop the recording here. That was amazing to me. It was amazing to me. If it wasn't amazing to y'all, I don't know, but it was amazing to me. But I'm stopping recording here for questions.